From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Katrina Goss. And we begin this news brief in Ecuador, where this Sunday the National Electoral Council will hold a nationwide technical simulation to evaluate the operational and logistics procedures ahead of the April 11th second round presidential election. Electoral Council authorities reported that the activity will be held in real time with the presence of every individual institution involved in the electoral process. The simulation will test the elements of the vote transmission system as well as ballot and result notifications. The application and strengthening of the biosecurity protocol will also be evaluated, while taking into consideration the feedback from international observer missions to the first round vote. The Chilean Senate is set to debate the constitutional amendment that will allow the postponement of the upcoming elections for 5 weeks due to the critical situation posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. The reform was approved by the Chamber of Deputies with 126 votes in favour, 3 against and 11 abstentions. The Senate Committee on Constitution, Legislation, Justice and Rules of Procedure approved the bill in general on Wednesday, but the plenary of the Senate has yet until this Thursday to submit any indications regarding the details of the reform. President Sebastián Piñera requested the change from April 10th and 11th to May 15th and 16th, arguing that the health crisis required the postponement of the vote. Chile has reported close to 1 million COVID-19 cases and more than 23,000 deaths and seen a surge in recent months. In Bolivia, the training of electoral jurors for the upcoming second round of the regional and municipal elections continues. The training is being held in the departments of Tarija, Chuquisaca and La Paz. Electoral coordinators and trainers will visit the 363 polling stations set up for the runoff election in order to train the jurors on site and in small groups. Jurors will be instructed on the voting procedure, the filling out of ballots and the biosecurity measures in voting centres. The training will continue until April 10th, with the vote to be held the following day. The third day of the murder trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin on Wednesday saw prosecutors play the video footage taken by the body cams of the 4 police officers involved in George Floyd's May 25, 2020 arrest. Chauvin, aged 45, who was captured on bystander video kneeling on the neck of a handcuffed Floyd for more than 9 minutes, is charged with murder and manslaughter. The body cam videos included the moment Floyd was arrested at gunpoint for allegedly passing a fake $20 bill and captured his desperate pleas as he repeated, "I can't breathe," while being pinned face down in the street. The other 3 former police officers involved in the arrest are to be tried separately later this year. And during the trial, Charles McMillian, a witness to George Floyd's arrest, broke down in tears on the stand as he watched a video from the day. Meanwhile, Christopher Martin, a store clerk, said that he regretted accepting the alleged fake $20 bill from Floyd that led to his arrest and eventual death. Martin, aged 19, worked as a cashier at Cup Foods, the store where Floyd was accused of using a counterfeit bill to buy a pack of cigarettes. President of the United States Joe Biden has directed the Pentagon to begin removing some military capabilities and forces from the Gulf region. In moves that haven't previously been reported, the US has removed at least 3 Patriot anti-missile batteries from the Gulf region, including one from Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia that had been put in place in recent years to help protect American forces. Other capabilities, including an aircraft carrier and surveillance systems, are being diverted from the Middle East to answer military needs elsewhere around the globe, according to US officials. Biden pledged after taking office that he would recalibrate the US-Saudi relationship, taking several steps against the kingdom, including freezing the sale of offensive weapons that Riyadh has used in its 6-year military intervention in Yemen. He also made public an intelligence report saying Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the country's de facto leader, approved the operation that led to the 2018 killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. And we take this opportunity to welcome viewers joining us from Antigua and Barbuda, where teleSUR English is now available on Channel 9 on the CTV cable system. We hope you enjoy our programming, and we also invite you to follow us on our website and our social media pages. Welcome. And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The government of Chile has declared the total closure of its borders during the whole month of April due to the health emergency posed by COVID-19. The measure that will come into effect as of Monday, April 5th, was announced on the same day the country registered the highest number of daily COVID-19 infections since the beginning of the pandemic, at over 7,800. In addition, authorities registered 193 new COVID-19 related deaths in the last 24 hours. The government also announced an earlier start to the curfew that has been enforced for the past year at 10 p.m. and the restriction of some activities considered essential until now. These measures follow a strict lockdown that has been enforced since last weekend for some 16.5 million residents. Bolivian Health Minister Jason Alsa announced that the country will close its borders with Brazil from Friday for at least a week to protect against the COVID-19 variant first detected there, which has sparked a surge in infections in Bolivia.
Is in effect as 0 hours from Friday for a period of 7 days at the border points with the Federative Republic of Brazil. Daily border transit will be allowed for a period of 3 hours. A certified negative real-time PCR test will be required for all persons and all travelers over 5 years of age. Self-isolation for at least 10 days after entering Bolivian territory will be required, as well as a sworn statement of a place of stay and a real-time PCR test to be carried out on the 7th day.
Brazilian authorities announced they have detected a new variant of the coronavirus, which could be a mutation of the strain first seen in Brazil's Amazonas state. The Sao Paulo Coronavirus Contingency Center stated that a patient had been identified for the first time in Brazil with a coronavirus strain similar to the one first detected in South Africa. Experts are not ruling out the possibility that it is a mutation of the P1 strain first registered in November in Manaus City. Experts noted that the patient hadn't travelled overseas or had direct contact with any other confirmed imported case and reported they are speeding up the investigations to determine the origin of the new variant.
Yesterday, we received the analysis of the genetic material from the Butantan laboratory network that is undertaking this work. And in Sorocaba, a strain was identified that has been analyzed. It is a strain similar to the South African one, although there is no history of travel or contact with travelers from that country. There is a possibility that it is an evolution of our P1 variant advancing towards a new South African mutation.
In Ecuador, the health crisis is worsening as hospitals are on the verge of collapse due to the increase in COVID-19 cases. Our correspondent in Quito, Denise Herrera, brings us the details.
Scandals over the vaccination plan promoted by Lenín Moreno government, the health situation continues to worsen in the country, and hospitals are warning of a new health system collapse.
We are at 145% capacity in the hospital. We have 370 hospitalized COVID patients, and we have 49 in ICU and a waiting list for ICU beds of 70. Also, 7 patients in a critical condition, and as a hospital we have expanded to the extent that was possible, both the cafeteria, endoscopy, military tents, and this is technically the maximum.
In the last few days, patients even spent several hours on the floors of the IAS Quito Sur hospital waiting for a bed.
Quito Sur Hospital is the largest emergency hospital in Pichincha, and we are starting to overflow and are unable to attend to people even though we have annexed all the areas. We are on the verge of saturation.
According to the Social Observatory of Ecuador, there was an increase in deaths from all causes in the country. When comparing the years 2020 and 2021, a third wave of people died during the pandemic, above the historical average recorded between 2015 and 2019. The excess number of people who died in 2020 was 45,569, and so far in 2021 is 9,416. Authorities have even confirmed that temporary hospitals have been reopened due to the increase in cases.
We view the situation with concern. That is why we have decided not to close the center. I believe that we are on the verge of another lockdown.
Ecuador has registered more than 300,000 cases of COVID-19 and more than 16,000 deaths. At the beginning of the pandemic, the government assured that it would secure 18 million vaccine doses by 2021, with which it seeks to vaccinate 60% of the population during this year. However, the plan has drawn a storm of criticism, as the majority of those vaccinated have been people who are not on the front line of the fight against the virus.
On Wednesday, Yemen received 360,000 COVID-19 vaccine doses shipped via the global COVAX mechanism, an initiative launched by the World Health Organization to facilitate access to vaccines. Representatives of UNICEF and the WHO to the country, as well as the health minister of the Saudi-backed internationally recognized government, received the shipment in the port city of Aden. The AstraZeneca shots will be used on health workers and other priority population sectors vulnerable to COVID-19. The shipment arrived together with 13,000 safety boxes and more than 1 million syringes that are critical for the safe and effective rollout of the vaccination campaign. This first batch is part of 1.9 million doses that Yemen is set to receive throughout 2021.
So now that the vaccines have arrived, the next step is the vaccination campaign, and we very much look forward to the start of this vaccination campaign, which will be implemented under the leadership of the Ministry of Health of Yemen, and will continue to be supported by UNICEF, WHO, and all the members that have assembled under the COVAX initiative. So the vaccine is safe, the vaccine saves life, so let's start vaccinating people together.
And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Vietnam assumed the rotating presidency of the United Nations Security Council this Thursday, its second time in the seat during the 2020 to 2021 tenure. As scheduled, the nation will chair around 30 meetings and events and represent the Security Council in working with non-member nations, other UN organisations, international institutions and the media throughout April. According to Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Pham Binh Minh, Vietnam's commitment in this term is to be a partner for sustainable peace. One of the most important upcoming events is the open debate scheduled for April 19th, with the theme Strengthen Cooperation between the United Nations and regional organisations in promoting trust and dialogue in conflict prevention and resolution. Vietnam will also chair a ministerial meeting on overcoming bomb and mine consequences and maintaining sustainable peace. Protesters in Myanmar gathered in the city of Yangon this Thursday to mark 2 months of mobilisations since the military takeover February 1st. Shortly after sunrise, a group of young people gathered to honour the more than 500 demonstrators killed so far by security forces. They later marched through the streets in the Hai Lang area of the city, chanting slogans calling for the end of the military junta and the return to democracy. On February 1st, the military overthrew elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi, claiming that last November's elections were fraudulent and that its concerns had been ignored. The takeover has seen massive public resistance, which security forces have attempted to crush through escalating levels of violence, including the now routinely use of live ammunition against protesters. And just as in many cities and towns across Myanmar this Thursday, protesters in the southern city of Dawai marked 2 months since the military takeover with a march to condemn the military junta and call for the release of all people under arrest, including elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi. Like protesters, activists and citizens, journalists in Myanmar have received the full force of the military's outburst of violence since late February, just weeks after the takeover. The military regime has arrested at least 46 journalists and 23 remain in jail on charges related to sedition or violating public order. Security forces have raided several newsrooms and revoked the licences of many others. Daily internet blackouts and the suspension of mobile phone data services and public Wi-Fi are among the abusive practices used by the military junta to stop the media from broadcasting what is happening in the country. 2 months after the military takeover, being a journalist has become increasingly risky. On Thursday, attackers gunned down a policewoman in eastern Afghanistan as she headed to work in the latest targeted killing in the war-torn country. A provincial police spokesman said the officer shot in the city of Jalalabad was wounded and later died at hospital. The spokesman added that 2 suspects have been arrested. Afghanistan has seen a nationwide spike in bombings, targeted killings and violence on the battlefield as peace negotiations in Qatar between the Taliban and the Afghan government have stalled. The attack comes 3 days after another incident in the same city in which 3 women working to administer polio vaccines were killed. No group immediately claimed responsibility for the attacks, but eastern Afghanistan has witnessed an increase in attacks by the Islamic State group. On Thursday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov hosted his counterpart from Turkmenistan in Moscow. The 2 foreign ministers acknowledged the advances made in bilateral relations, especially in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Our friendship and solidarity were fully manifested in fighting the coronavirus infection. We have provided help and support to each other. We are grateful for your decision to send us, as friendly gestures, goods produced in Turkmenistan for covering needs of the Astrakhan region. This was very symbolic and truly demonstrated the real qualities of our relations. I also would like to thank you, and through you, all the Russian colleagues for the support that Russia has provided to Turkmenistan in counteracting this global threat, the coronavirus pandemic. We're also grateful, I said this already to the government, to be the first country to help Turkmenistan, providing PCR tests as friendly humanitarian aid when this was very complicated. In general, we have received about 186,000 coronavirus test systems from Russia. 120,000 among them were free of charge.
Police in the Belgian capital Brussels used water cannon to disperse crowds of people who gathered for a party in the city's Bos de la Cambre park this Thursday. Authorities responded to reports of a Facebook event planned for April 1st, with over 60,000 saying they planned to attend. Obligatory mask-wearing outdoors, nighttime curfews and restaurant and bar closures have been in place in the country since the start of November. However, a Belgian court ruled on Wednesday the state should either lift all coronavirus measures within 30 days or frame them properly as law. Hospitalizations due to COVID-19 have risen consistently in recent weeks, and Belgian health authorities have warned that intensive care unit occupancy could reach critical levels by April 10th if the pace of infections does not slow. And we've come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Telegram. For teleSUR English, I'm Katrina Goss. Thank you for watching.